from Chicago, has been talking about quitting music. And we've talked about this a little bit on the channel before, how a lot of up-and-coming artists, especially a lot of the young black girl artists, are having problems, I guess you could say, having problems with the music industry and having a lot of emotional sort of existential crises, I guess you could say, about their career. Noname being one of the most recent ones. She said repeatedly that she's quitting music. And her reasoning behind it tends to boil down to like two different things. The first one being that she feels like the majority of her, of the people that come to see her when she performs live are white, and that makes her uncomfortable because she feels like she's a black artist creating black music, and also that her Noname does like a spoken word. She kind of reminds me of like she's a female Kendrick Lamar, like she's in that sort of lane a little bit to me, and she feels like she's making kind of, you know, pro-black or conscious, or, you know, whatever you would want to call it, type of music and type of art, and that when she performs and she looks out and she sees nothing but white faces, and especially if they're going to sing along and they're going to say the N-word and things of that nature, that it makes her uncomfortable. And this sort of second, that kind of like led into her second reasoning of why she's considering quitting music, which is that she feels like she's not receiving support from a black audience. That she's, you know, she said some things like, I'm putting, you know, my heart and soul into creating music that is specifically for black people. Like, I'm on some for us, by us, and yet every time I perform, I look out into the crowd and I see white faces, and it's really weird and it's really uncomfortable, and, you know, it's almost like a, I don't know what you would call that, like a disconnect. Why can't I think of the word right now? Cognitive dissonance. It's almost like a dissonance thing. And we've also seen several other girls, and she sent out a bunch of tweets. She like said all this on Twitter, and we've also seen some other girls. Ari Lennox comes to mind, and saying sort of similar things, that she doesn't feel like she receives enough support, that she's not being supported in her career with the music that she wants to make, and also that she is bullied on social media. Summer Walker has also talked about sort of being just relentlessly bullied on social media, that people are constantly bullying her and getting at her for her appearance and getting at her about her social anxiety. There's just been like a lot, and then there's kind of like there's been a lot of girls that have been saying that, like, especially taking to social media to sort of air their grievances with the music industry and with the way that they feel like their careers are going, and a lot of it has revolved around feeling like they're not receiving enough support. And I also feel like a lot of it has revolved around people feeling like they're being bullied over social media. So there's a couple things that I want to say about this that I want to get into. I've seen a lot of people saying that they feel like this up-and-coming generation of artists are soft, basically, that the music industry is hard, that it's tough, that it's cutthroat, that it's not for everybody, that everybody is not built for it, and that has only increased sort of like tenfold now that you have fucking social media, Instagram and Twitter and all this shit, where you can like reach these artists directly. You could damn near reach out and touch these motherfuckers. Like, you can reach them very directly and tell them exactly what you think, right? Like, I fucking hate it. I hate your shit. I think your shit sucks and you fucking suck. And, you know, like, you can reach out and say those things to these people directly. And there's a lot of people that are saying like, well, the music amazing and wonderful you are. So I do think that there's something to be said for, you know, having a thick skin and being able to, you know, number one, accept valid criticism, because no one is above critique. Being able to accept valid criticism, being able to understand when critique is coming from a place of wanting you to improve as an artist, especially as a new artist. Summer Walker, I think, is a prime example of somebody that doesn't handle criticism very well, and yet I think some of the things that people have said about her performances, for example, are fair. I totally understand having social anxiety. I myself have anxiety, and it really is crippling. But maybe you shouldn't do performances, and you don't have to do performances. And I kind of felt the same way about what Noname said. It's like, since white people, you know, coming to your shows makes you uncomfortable, why do you have to quit music? You can continue making music. You can continue releasing music. You don't have to perform. You don't have to go on tour. You could be on your Frank Ocean shit. You release your little albums every now and then. People buy your music. Maybe you do small, intimate, you know, performances, and you keep on going. You know, like with Summer Walker, people love her music. They love her songwriting. People want to see her perform live. But I do think it's kind of like, you know, people pay money for a ticket. They want a show. That's true. If you're unable to give them that show because of your anxiety and, you know, your issues, don't perform. You know, there has to be a little bit more of a give and take there. And I do feel like a lot of new artists, because most of the younger artists now, you know, the new artists, they came up in the social media era. And so I think you also have a lot of artists that it's their first instinct, it's their first, you know, it's just their first instinct to like hop on social media, to use social media as like a mouthpiece for their grievances, you know, to complain. So, and I thought the same thing about Noname. You know, you feel some type of way about, you know, the majority of the people coming to your concerts being white, but then it's like, where are you performing? You know, who are you being marketed to? Instead of complaining on Twitter, which sounds like you're guilt-tripping fans, like y'all not supporting me or whatever, maybe you should be talking to your manager. You know, maybe you should be talking to your marketing team. I looked up some of her performances, and like in 2017, Noname performed at the Roots Picnic in Philly, and the crowd was not a majority white crowd, you know? So it's like, maybe you should look into performing some different type of venues and some different type of circuits. This is also something that a lot of people said on my video about Normani, right? Which is like, well, Normani does pop. She wants to do pop music, and almost like pop is not a black thing, right? Like, oh, Noname does like alternative spoken word poetry stuff, like as if that's not a black thing, like as if they can't be marketed towards black fans. It's like a weird fucking thing. Like all these stereotypes that people have about black people and black listeners and black consumers and all this stuff that kind of turns into this like shaming of black fans, like y'all aren't doing enough for me, right? And then hopping on social media to use social media as your way to, you know, your Twitter fingers as your way to like spew out your grievances on your fans. I feel like you have a career. You do have fans. You do have people that support you. You do have people that buy your music, you know. Maybe try to work with that, and if you feel like the path that you're going down is not, you know, working for you, maybe try to renegotiate that before you just hop on social media and be like, I quit, fuck music. That's the type of stuff that makes people feel like, oh, you're thick-skinned and you're not built for the industry. But I do, on the other hand, recognize that social media is vicious, and that people love nastiness, and like the online bullying is like way out of control, with people attacking artists and acting like the artists are not human beings and trying to like drive people to fucking suicide. I do think that there's people out there that want to like drive some of these artists to suicide just to see if they could do it, like trolling to the max. So I do think there needs to be a fine line for these up and coming artists, you know, to understand that like social media should be a tool, right? Because also, if you don't use social media, you're criticized as like, oh, you have to use social media to be relatable and so that people can, you know, reach out and talk to you and interact with your fans and build a fan base, again, especially for newer artists. And yet when you use social media regularly, you are opening yourself up, you know, to all these people, you know, millions of people, hundreds of people, thousands of people, you know, telling you what they think. So I do think that there's a fine line in having a thick enough skin to be a public figure and get all the perks that comes with being a public figure, especially a musician, the money, you know, the career, the acclaim, all these things that people love, you know, and want. And then at the same time, also understanding that that's also going to open you up to criticism, and being able to handle that and understand that without it breaking you down, you know, emotionally, and just reducing you to nothing. Or maybe the music industry isn't, you know, for some of these new artists. I don't know. It's like a very interesting thing that I've been thinking about for a while, in terms of just marketing and people having all these issues with their careers, and even people that are being successful and yet they're still so unhappy. And I've also been thinking a lot about the intentions and the creation of the art itself, which you guys know I did a New Year's video on that. I also filmed a follow-up video on that. And it's just like, why are you creating? Why are you creating? Are you creating to express? Are you creating for everybody to love it? Are you creating to make money? Like, what are you in the game for? And I feel like once you know what you're in the game for, that will make it easier for some of these people to move forward with their careers. So the girls are quitting. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.